Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Fear with my partner, Mickey Plumley. Sorry to say Greg Christ, our good friend and buddy, is still under the weather and will not be able to be with us this Wednesday, but we hope he'll be back with us next Wednesday. Well, Mickey, you lined up tonight's show with Kevin Barry of the Alumni Association, the head honcho, and we're really looking forward to. We know Kevin, but I think the audience who don't know Kevin will really enjoy meeting him. Just a tremendous leader in person, and thank you for organizing it. And we're going to talk about the bowl. It can't get better than that, right?
There you go. You're exactly right, Frank. I tell you, he's done a yeoman's job up there. What a great guy he is. I'm excited to have him on the show with us tonight and then getting a little discussion about the Frisco Bowl.
That's right. That's right. And as I was talking with Kevin beforehand. I'm laughing because it reminded me of my career at Michigan State. We're already getting a lot of feedback on the coaching search. And I was always told as a young administrator, Frank, you can't say anything until there's an official announcement. So it's always a challenge, but we're going to respect that because Kevin is not just another employee, he's a vice president. So, but we're going to talk about the Alumni Association and the arrangements for the bowl game coming up next Tuesday, and then Mickey and I are going to be talking about the bowl itself, and we're going to do we're going to really look at the skinny of both teams, especially Memphis, a very interesting team. It is not in a power situation, but a group of five. We'll get to that later, but let's bring in our guest, Kevin Barry. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, Frank, Mickey, thanks so much for having me here tonight. Excited to join you all and talk a little bit about the WVU Alumni Association, as well as some of the plans that we're putting in place for the upcoming bowl game. So thanks so much for having me.
Well, Mickey, you and I know what it takes to not to do the job that Kevin does, but from afar, what you have in your plate is amazing. And you just came back from Dallas, isn't that correct?
I did. Was there last week, taking a look at some potential venue options, talking to some folks in the area, looking at some of the places where our fans will stay, learn a little bit more about the bowl game. It was a worthwhile trip, and I'm pretty confident that the folks that are able to join us there to root on the Mountaineers are going to have an outstanding experience.
Very good. And you'll see on the crawler there that the titles that Kevin has, it's coming on right now, and that is the importance of being a vice president of alumni relations and CEO of the West Virginia University Alumni Association. And when we talked about a couple weeks ago, we started asking you about your background, what brought you to Morgantown, and then eventually what brought you to the Alumni Association as a position, and then your move up to the ladder to be the CEO.
So, Frank, I often joke with people that I came to WVU for 4 years, 35 years ago. And as a matter of fact, that's the truth. My background is I was born and raised in a West Virginia University family. I can't remember a time in my life that West Virginia University was not a part of it. I can remember as a young kid, mom and dad woke me up what I thought was way too early for us to make. Keep in mind the speed limit was 55 at the time. So the 3 hour, not 2.5 hour drive from Charleston to Morgantown, we would obviously attend tailgates, visit friends, go to the football game, and then turn around and drive back home. One of the things that I always felt anytime I was at WVU, whether it was for a football game or other reasons, was this sense of community. And when it was time for me to begin looking at colleges, my mother and father, they were troopers. They drove me all up and down the East Coast. But the reality was I was looking for a school that gave me the same feeling that I had when I was on West Virginia University's campus. And I never found that. So enrolled as a student at WVU. And I'll be honest with you, it was a life-changing experience for me. Call it transformative. So by the time I had finished my undergraduate degree, I had a pretty good idea that I would like to continue to work at West Virginia University if the option presented itself. So went and got a master's degree. And when I finished the master's degree, was fortunate enough to catch on at WVU. And what I often tell people is, the reason why is, I found my passion and I found my purpose attending WVU. And I just felt like if I could play a role, even if it was that much of a role, in helping somebody else have the same type of transformative experience that I had, what would be more rewarding than that? So I caught on at the university, spent some time as an academic advisor, moved over and was an assistant to the president in the president's office. Spent some time in enrollment management, arranging for people to visit WVU, learn about the school, prospective students and others, and then eventually landed at the Alumni Association. I've worked at the Alumni Association for a number of years, and I've been in the current role that I am for 2 years. So let's just say that there's never been a point in my life that I can remember WVU not being a part of it, and it will always be a part of my life.
Well, I'll tell you, Mickey, that sounds an awful lot like the experience you had in Morgantown, a transformative experience.
It really was, Frank. Exposure to great individuals, a great atmosphere, people like Bobby Bowden, Jim Carlin, great names from the past. Red Brown as the athletic director, and people who had, not to mention other folks that were there at the time that had huge impact on how we turned out as young men. Dr. Robert Byers, who was the team orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Robert Nugent, who was the neurosurgeon for the team. I mean, these were just stalwarts of West Virginia University legacy that had such a great impact on so many young men that went through there. And such an impact, as Kevin says, from a kid coming out of the hills of Mount Hope, West Virginia, and getting exposure to what college life is all about. And at the time, it was very transformative in the USA as well. In the late 60s when I played, there was a lot of stuff going on. You had the Kent State riots, you had Martin Luther King assassination, you had Woodstock, you had all kinds of stuff going on. And I didn't really appreciate it at the time, but now when I think back, the job that those coaches did and the athletic staff and our advisors and the Alumni Association and keeping us all pointed in the right direction and getting a college education, developing as young people, and just putting all that other stuff aside, if you would, not let it impact how you turn out as a young person. Just a tremendous facility. The one thing that's changed that I truly missed, I saw Kevin a few weeks ago. I went up for the Baylor game, and I took my son with me, and we make an annual pilgrimage up there, Frank. But I was really, really sad this year when I drove up through Sunnyside and saw all of those huge apartments, student lodging buildings, and the Sunnyside that I knew when I was there just totally gone. I guess I knew that had happened, but I just had kind of forgotten about it. But that was a structure that forever, that and Mario's will forever live in my memory.
Yeah,
hey, Kevin,
exactly.
I had a couple of questions for you in your role as.
I can relate. My office.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mick.
I had a couple of questions for Kevin. In terms of the role that you're in right now, Kevin, I've always been a member of the Alumni Association ever since I graduated, but I really didn't understand what it did or the impact that it has and the different chapters that are out there throughout the entire world until in 2019, helped put together the 50-year reunion of our Peach Bowl team. And I contacted the then CEO, Vice President of the Alumni Association, helped me tremendously get in touch with every chapter president and every chapter member with information so we could alert them to people who had been there back in the 60s, so they'd have an opportunity to come and see Bobby Bowden return to campus and things like that. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how many chapters are out there today, and what's the day-to-day like job that you do, Kevin? I think a lot of people really don't have a good understanding for that.
Absolutely, Mickey. So we'll start with, we have 66 alumni chapters around the country. These are very, very passionate alums who care deeply about West Virginia University and want to help us to engage individuals, not only with fellow alums, but also with West Virginia University. And what we always talk about is this goal to build what are mutually beneficial relationships, relationships that enrich the lives of our alums and at the same time help West Virginia University with the priorities that it has. So the work that we do is very much so focused on that. And, I'm the first to tell you that the WVU Alumni Association, much of the success that we have is because of our volunteer base and the work that they do on behalf of the university. One of the things I like to tell people all the time is, alumni are unique in that they are the only permanent stakeholders at West Virginia University. They are the outcome of West Virginia University's product. You have presidents that come and go, football coaches come and go, alumni directors come and go. Alumni are permanent stakeholders. So much of the work that we do on a daily basis is having conversations with alumni, learning what their stories are, helping to tell their stories where we can, talking to them about what their purpose is, what their passions are, and determining where we can plug them in at the university to achieve that mutually beneficial relationship that we talked about. We do that work at the chapter level. We do that work with services and programs that we offer, events that we hold. One of the things that's kind of really unique is, engagement is a term that we used to be able to very clearly define, and it's a much more nebulous term now, right? Engagement can mean that you're engaged with the university on social media. It can mean that you're attending events. It can mean that you are volunteering for the university, right? It can mean that you're wearing the flying WV and greeting somebody in an airport, right? There's so many ways that individuals can be engaged. And that's what our goal is determining what's going to be the best way to engage that alum in the university and the life of the university, okay, so that it makes their life better and improves West Virginia University at the same time.
Well said. Very well said. Perhaps you could speak a little bit. I know you were down at our Peach State annual golf tournament back in the spring, which I missed due to health reasons. But what's your travel schedule like in terms of getting out face to face with the different chapters throughout the course of the year? Are you on the road a lot doing that?
Well, Mickey, one of the things that I'll say is obviously platforms like what we're on and Zoom and Teams and those things, certainly make it easier for you to connect with people meaningfully in virtual ways. But there's nothing like being in the same room with other people, right? There's nothing like sitting across a table like what you and I did when you were in Morgantown for the Baylor game and get to know somebody at a much higher level, okay? And understand what their relationship is with the university and how that could potentially be strengthened. So, for us, I would say it primarily goes in cycles. During the fall semester, obviously, we're quite busy. We support many different parts of the university, from academics to enrollment to assisting with raising money for scholarships. So, during the fall, it's a little bit more athletic heavy, right? You've got football that's going on. You're going to have events at away games. You're going to have other travel with that. During the spring, we actually look at that as an opportunity for us to host some of our larger on-campus events, like our Academy Distinguished Alumni, which is where we recognize alums that have achieved national and international acclaim. That's when we do our Alumni Leaders Institute, which is when we bring alumni leaders from around the country to campus for them to engage with university leaders, share best practices, learn more about things that are happening here at WVU and at the WVU Alumni Alumni Association. And then to your point, the summer is typically a heavy travel time because that's when most of our chapters are doing their signature events. And those events range from service-related projects to more social type activities, to fundraisers. An important part of the golf tournament that you're talking about, and by the way, Peach State chapter are good folks, right? But they're raising money to support students from the Georgia area who want to attend West Virginia University and change their lives. So what I would say is it definitely goes in cycles, but it's a fairly rigorous travel schedule. But let's be honest, every trip that I make, I'm meeting incredible people, learning about amazing stories, doing work that I think positively benefits WVU. I mean, that's pretty good stuff, and trips that I'm willing to take.
Sure. Got to have a lot of fun out there being with other Mountaineers, no doubt about it. And how about your staff, Kevin? Do you have, I should know this, but I don't. I mean, you mentioned volunteerism. Most of the people that work with you volunteers, or you have a paid staff that has designated responsibilities as well, I would imagine, right?
Absolutely. So we have paid professional staff, folks that do communications and marketing work. Let's be honest, the backbone of any effective engagement program is going to be communications and marketing. We have folks that are directly involved in engagement and assisting with those fundraising efforts, like supporting our chapters when they're doing scholarship fundraisers. We have folks that help to support our chapters' events. But when you're talking 200,000 plus alums that you're trying to engage, the size of your staff is never going to be big enough, right? So the approach that we take is that our volunteers are very much so an extension of our staff and are absolutely essential for us if we're going to achieve the mission of the Alumni Association, which is to provide lifelong support for our alums and to support the strategic interests of West Virginia University. So yes, we have a professional staff, but at the same time, I view our volunteers very much so as extensions of that staff.
Oh, that's sad.
That's right. Hey, Mickey, one of the things that talking about strategic directions is the bowl game coming up, because the Alumni Association gets involved in that. As we mentioned, Kevin was down in Dallas-Fort Worth. So talk to us, Kevin, about what the fans can expect if they're making a trip down to watch the bowl game next Tuesday.
Absolutely. So I'll start with, Dallas is a great town. I mean, it's a great place to visit and a great place for a bowl game to be hosted. So we're pretty excited about the opportunity to be traveling to that area. Essentially, the game is going to be on Tuesday. Obviously, our fans will come in before that. We had the chance while we were there to travel to a couple different parts of towns where our fans will likely stay and look at opportunities for them to do things on their own and take in parts of Dallas prior to when we do our formal event. But for our formal event, what we've done is we've partnered with the Mountaineer Athletic Club. And obviously, this is in coordination with our Dallas Fort Worth alumni chapter. We're doing a Mountaineer meetup, and it's going to be at the Green Gator Frisco, which is about 0.2 of a mile from Toyota Stadium, which is where the game's going to be played. The game kicks off at 8 p.m. Central. So from 4:30 to 7:30, we're going to basically do the meetup. It's an opportunity for our fans to come together, to congregate, to share in Mountaineer camaraderie. We're going to have special appearances by the Pride of West Virginia, the WVU cheerleaders, and Mountaineer mascot. We're going to have giveaways, which we're going to be handing to fans while supplies last. There's going to be food and beverage specials as well. It's a great location in close proximity to the stadium. And if you're going to be in the area, we would encourage you to come out and join us. I think it's going to be a really good time with great people before we go cheer the Mountaineers on in the bowl game against what's a good Memphis team. But, I'm feeling pretty good about, what's going to be happening in the Dallas area and our opportunities for later in that evening as well.
Yeah.
Are
You
you
know,
at
one of the things
liberty
that
to,
Mickey and I have both experienced is the
good.
incredible amount of incredible amount of work that the volunteers and people like you and your staff put in to be able to pull off a bowl game like that. So we really do appreciate it. Mickey, you have another question?
Yeah, I was just curious, for those last minute planners, is there a package deal being sponsored by the Alumni Association as far as travel goes down there? I mean, is there a preferred hotel, or where's the team staying, for example?
So
Because
this,
I know every time I go to a bowl game, I want to go to the hotel where the players are and just hang out for a couple of hours. Hopefully, run into somebody.
absolutely. So the team's going to be staying at the Star, okay, which is the neighborhood where the Ford Center, which is the indoor practice facility for the Dallas Cowboys, is located. It's where Dallas Cowboy headquarters are. There's a lot of great, restaurants and shops and those types of things in the area. It's probably about a 10-minute drive to Toyota Stadium, which is where the game's going to be played. If you're interested in travel, what I would suggest is there's a website. It's wvusportstravel.com. The Scooters Coffee Bowl actually has a really neat widget that's a part of their webpage. We've linked to that. And it takes you to partner hotels that the bowl has. Some of them are going to be in the area of the Star. Some of them are going to be closer to where the stadium is. Obviously, there's a different range in terms of what the prices are going to be. So what we're offering this go round is obviously hotel accommodations, a little shorter turnaround this go round than what we've had the last few years in terms of bowl planning. And we thought that that was going to be the best way to serve our alumni friends and fans for this bowl game. But like I said, if you go to that website, you can take a look at some of the different hotel options that they have. And because they're official partners of the bowl, they're reputable places.
Yeah. Things have certainly changed in that regard. When we played in the Peach Bowl, you had 30 days notice. So you had plenty of time to make your travel plans, to get down there a few days ahead of time. It was around New Year's, and stay over a little bit. But in today's world, that's kind of changed a little bit. You announce the bowl games and they start within 7 or 8 days. So things have really changed in that regard.
Well, and we have obviously a strong alumni base in Texas, right? In places like Houston, Dallas, other parts of Texas. So, obviously it never hurts when you kind of start with a strong local base, and then you have the ability to encourage others to participate from elsewhere. So, like I said, we've got a decent number of alumni in Texas, and we're looking forward to spending a few days there with them here in, I guess it's about 5 days.
Yeah. Sneaking up on us pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right. That's right. Kevin, we truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Any final comments you'd like to make about the Alumni Association, speaking directly to alums, anything that you feel you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would say is, not only do I think that it'll enrich your life, but West Virginia University needs you. Now more than ever, it's important for schools, colleges, universities to have a active alumni base. So the Alumni Association is a great facilitator for that. So, if you're interested in becoming more involved in the Alumni Association or the university at large, reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you and figure out the best way to kind of plug you into the things that are happening here at WVU. And, again, we started by mentioning that we have 66 chapters around the country. That's a great place and great way to engage with alums in your local community. We all always say that, being a Mountaineer is not a 4-year college experience. It's a community for life, right? And what a great way to continue to be active in that community life. There's no better way, frankly, than engaging with one of our alumni chapters around the country. And if by chance you're not exactly sure where to go to learn more about your chapter and the one that's closest to you, reach out to us and our staff, and we'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction, get you some contact information so that we can get you involved. But I think the parting message that I would have is, as alumni of West Virginia University, you're the only permanent stakeholders. You're the outcome of the West Virginia University experience. Your stories are important. They matter. We want to do what we can to tell them, and we want to engage you in West Virginia University. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to us. We'd love to get you involved.
And before Kevin
Mickey, you
leaves
have an
here,
announcement
Frank,
as well.
I do have an announcement to make. Yes, sir. As I discussed with Kevin a couple of weeks ago in Morgantown, I am actually retiring back home in the New River Gorge area come the 1st of January, 2025. And I had a nice discussion with Kevin in his office during the Baylor game. And I volunteered to get a New River Gorge chapter of the Alumni Association up and running. And I guarantee you it'll be the best chapter of the 66 that you currently have. It'll be the best of the 67. So, Kevin, I'll be calling you a lot. I'll be emailing you. Look forward to working closely with you to get this accomplished. But I'm really psyched about getting up there, getting that chapter up and running as part of my move back home. Originally I'm from Mount Hope, West Virginia. So I was able to take advantage of this Ascend West Virginia program, which is associated with the university, and able to relocate back to my old stomping grounds and go into semi-retirement out there. I'm still going to be working, but look forward to the opportunity to get a very active chapter going in the Beckley, Oak Hill, Mount Hope, Summersville, Fayetteville area.
Well, and Mickey, I'll say Ascend is a great program. Danny Twilley, Liz Vichulo, great people that are running that program. I think you're going to really enjoy being a part of that. And, Frank, Mickey basically said to me, by chance, do you have a chapter in the Raleigh-Fayette area? And I said, Mickey, we don't. Let's get one going. And he said, I'm your guy. And I thank you for your willingness to volunteer and help us to connect people in Southern West Virginia with West Virginia University. Mickey, we're going to have a lot of fun doing this, and we're going to make a difference at West Virginia University at the same time.
Yes, sir. We certainly are. And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for being here with us tonight, Kevin. I appreciate the opportunity for me to be able to pay back a little bit to the university for everything it did for me for these so many years.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being with us, Kevin.
Yeah, Frank, Mickey, thanks again for having me on the show. Appreciate the time. Hey, let's go Mountaineers.
Let's go Mountaineers.
That's right. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. He is, WVU Alumni Association, Mickey, is one of the best operations of its kind in the country, and he does a great job. Everybody I've talked with about Kevin said he's a stand-up guy and a great leader, and people who are watching tonight see that firsthand.
You can say that again. I mean, he's very, very active, very dedicated. What Dale Wolfley used to call a true Mountaineer, Frank, huh?
That's right, a true Mountaineer. True Mountaineer. What I'm going to put up now, and we really did have to respect Kevin because I was in a similar role. We have a number of folks who have commented on the what appears to be a culminating head coach process that may be bringing a certain former coach back to Morgantown. And so let me put all this up that people shared as we were talking earlier. And one of the things that you and I have talked about, and Greg and I have talked about, is that in my experience in 40 years of higher education administration or any administration, you have to trust the persons who are involved in making the choices and decisions. And, Ren Baker, and Kevin and I were talking about this before, is considered one of the best ADs, if not the best AD in the country. And people have a lot of ideas and want to have input, and sometimes it's a little emotional. but you gotta trust. We gotta trust him, and I agree. No matter who it is, we're going to be pumped about it. And also, it's true. We need to heal, and we need to uh, come together and move forward. Everybody wants that. Um, there's no question about it. West Virginia back on the map nationally is really important. Um, and what are you going to do? Your thoughts about what are your thoughts about Mickey on this possibility?
On the new coach,
Yep.
well, number one, I'm thankful that we have a guy like Ren Baker that took so many different perspectives into consideration as he made his decision, and that he, as he stated in his press conference about 11 days ago, cast the net as far and as wide as he possibly could to give due consideration to every single candidate that was out there. And now it appears that we're going to bring back a former coach who I personally am in favor of. Frank, as you and I have talked in the past, everyone makes mistakes. There's only one person that walked the face of this earth that never made a mistake, and that was neither you nor I or anyone that we happen to know. Everyone deserves a second chance. The experience that Rich Rod brings coming back here, I just saw a flash. I don't know if it's been certified or not, that Les Miles will be joining his staff. Did you see that flash on the screen there, Frank? I mean, you're talking about, and of course, we had
Yeah, that's
Clint
been a
Trickett's
thing.
dad. Okay, and you got Clint Trickett's dad, coaching the offensive line. We had him on the show here a few weeks ago. What a guy he is! I mean, I have confidence in this new beginning that we have. I think it's a time for all Mountaineers to put their differences aside. What happened in the past happened in the past. We can't live in the past. We need to live in for today and build toward the future. So I hope that everyone will join in supporting our new head coach and his staff. And let's get on with winning a Big 12 championship and get in the final 12 playoffs within a couple of 3 years here.
Yeah, very well stated, Mickey. The point that you made, absolutely. When you look, one of the points you made, when you look at what the approach that Ren took to this particular decision, and I know there was a lot of controversy with respect to the Bob Huggins situation, but if you look at it from the process point of view, the steps that went through, the systematic nature of the review and the final decision. You may not agree with the final outcome, but you have to admire the effort that was put in and the 360 approach that was taken in both cases. And the other point you and I and Greg have talked about, whether it's Rich Rod or someone else, we're going to get behind the new coach because we are so supportive of the program. Now, we all know that you can't have three people come in at the same time. So you bring a person in, as we did with Neil Brown, as we did with John Nealon. You go back to when you were coaching, when Carlin came from Georgia Tech, and they do the best job they can. And the goal, obviously, as you well stated, is to be competitive in the Big 12 and to compete for a college football playoff. What we're seeing at several other schools, I think, speak volumes to what the expectations are. Did anyone really expect Indiana in 1 year to be where they are? No. Did anyone expect Arizona State to win the Big 12 and be in the college playoff? That is just an indication of the competitive environment we have these days, and the expectations that fans will have, and the kinds of expectations that staff and university administration have. So there will be a formal announcement soon. It could be as early as tomorrow. We're assuming because most of the media outlets are saying it's going to be Rich Rod. We'll just have to see if that's exactly the answer. But we'll get behind Rich Rod or actually anybody who's in that position because we love the university and we want the football program obviously to be successful.
Well stated, Frank. Well stated. Whoever the chosen one is, it's important that we unify behind that person and come together to support them. A divided house can only fall. You know, sometimes you have to put differences aside and move forward.
That's right. And, it's just, there's no situation where everyone's going to line up, no matter what the issue is, 100%. So what you have to do is just ask the question, what's best for the university, given the circumstances and the politics, because it's a everything's highly tested,
Very
highly
political.
contested politically, and go from there. But we do have a bowl game we do have a bowl game next Tuesday. And, Mickey, you and I have been at this for a long time. I don't know about you, but when I didn't know a lot about Memphis other than what I would read in the newspapers, but I know you did your due diligence. When we looked at Memphis, it's on the one hand, it looks a lot like Texas Tech, strong offense, defense that may not be as strong as the offense. But boy, I'll tell you, when you have a team like Memphis that does not compete as a power school, playing a school like West Virginia that does, it becomes very, very, very difficult to be able to look at the two teams and make an analysis and say, okay, now what's the assessment here? It's not as though we're playing, a team from the Big Ten or the team from an SEC or the ACC, where the schedules are similar, the competition's similar. But it's I found this perhaps the most challenging team to analyze from a WVU perspective all season long. Did you find this? Did you have the same difficulty, or am I overstating the case?
No, Frank, I agree 100%. Memphis is a dichotomy. They, in some respects, you look at their record, you look at their performance throughout 2024, and what a wonderful scoring machine they have. What a great offense. What a great job they did. But on the other hand, they were beaten by Navy's ground game. I mean, Navy basically just ran right over top of them. I think they ran the ball as many times as we did back in the '69 Peach Bowl. They had extreme difficulty in stopping Navy's rushing attack. And then they got upset by University of Texas, El Paso, for Lord's sake. So who knows which team's going to show up on that day come next Tuesday. I know this, the Mountaineer players will show up. And I know that those that have dedicated themselves to this program over the past 4 or 5 years are there for one last shot and to give it their all to come out of there with a victory.
Yep. I think you're absolutely correct. And here's, let's see if I can bring this up. For those of you who are not that familiar with the Memphis Tigers, their quarterback is up in the top of the graphic, and Coach Ryan Silverfield, who was reportedly one of the candidates looked at by Ren Baker. At least it was reported for the WVU job. They have a very good quarterback. Mickey will talk more about Hennigan in a few minutes rather. Been playing since he was a freshman. He has really good stats. Look at that completion rate. A really good runner in Anderson, 1,300 yards, and also he's good receiver there too, 250. 0 fumbles, 6.3 yards. Again, a lot like we saw in Baylor, a lot like we saw in Texas Tech. Just like Texas Tech and Baylor, they have multiple receivers, both wide receivers and tight ends that have totaled a lot of yards. You can see that 2,250. Taylor, You got Drake, et cetera, et cetera. They have two place kickers, one that's shorter and the other
Longer.
that does the long kicking, a good punter, and so that'll will help them on special teams. Their defense, that's interesting stat. 10 interceptions and 14 fumble recovered. So they're a very, very pesky defense, and some of the defenders to watch. The defensive line may not be the strength of the team, but they have good linebackers and an array of good defensive backs. But again, as we'll see in more detail in a few minutes, they don't play a schedule that is at the level of West Virginia. So when you look at these numbers, they played one power team, Florida State, and Florida State, as we know, had a down year. And as a consequence, it's really tough to make comparisons, Mick.
It really is. It's it's like comparing apples and oranges. You have to excuse me, Frank. I'm about to lose my voice here. I got a little bronchitis going on.
Yeah, yeah,
1 moment.
yeah.
Sorry about that. It's almost like comparing apples and oranges. You know, the quality of the competition is totally different that they competed against them and we competed against in the Big 12. And yet, you know, 65% completion ratio by their quarterback. Kid's been there 5 years. The running back is 1,300 yards, didn't fumble a single carry. And as a matter of fact, I looked at the individual team stats of the players. Frank, I didn't see a single fumble by any running back for an entire year. So one of the things I think greatly contributed to their success this year was the turnover ratio. As you just pointed out, you know, they forced 12 interceptions or 12 turnovers. And I don't think they turned it over a single time in a ball game, which is, I mean, that's just unbelievable that a team would do that. So no doubt the turnover ratio is going to have a huge impact on the way this game turns out. And I think, you know, there's an unwritten part of this too, Frank, from a player's perspective. And that's, you know, the will to win, the desire to win the very last college football game that 99% of these guys will ever play in. The last time they'll ever step out on a football field, because 99% of them will not be going to the pros. So when you factor that in, and I think about their desire to upset West Virginia as they did Iowa State in last year's bowl game, their desire to prove that they really are, you know, a power to be contended with. You've got that on the one hand. On the other side, you know, you got guys on our side, you know, like Wyatt Millen didn't have to play in this bowl game, but he chose to play in this bowl game. You know, he's likely a first or second round draft choice next year. He could very easily have said, I don't want to take a chance on getting injured and jeopardizing, you know, my future professional earnings potential. But Wyatt didn't do that. You know what Wyatt said? I saw a news conference the other day. He said, you know, I came here to finish a job. I'm going to finish what I started. He said, I really don't look forward to what may happen next year with me in the pros. I just kind of live for the current situation. So you got a guy like Wyatt that wants to finish out his career very strongly with a win. You've got Garrett Green, who I still think the world of, although he underperformed to his potential this year. It wasn't because of his lack of trying. He got a number of bad breaks this year, and he was injured for a while. I think that injury was somewhat underevaluated by a lot of people. But, you know, you look back at Garrett Green's career, and that kid is a winner. And I'm sure the only thing on his mind right now is the fact that he wants to go out a winner. You know, Garrett is the only quarterback since we joined the Big 12 that has beaten Oklahoma. We've been in the Big 12 for 12 years, and Garrett Green is the only quarterback. Oklahoma would have left the Big 12, whitewashing West Virginia, going to the SEC without a single victory if it had not have been for Garrett Green stepping in and winning that game against Oklahoma when he did. And then, you take his performance last year in the Duke Mayonnaise Bowl. And the opening play, I'll never forget that pass that he threw for that touchdown on play one. So I know Garrett Green's heart and his grit and his courage is going to be to the max come next Tuesday night, as I think all the West Virginia Mountaineer players will. Everyone's going to play according to the interim coach, except for anyone who chose to enter the portal. And there weren't that many people that entered the portal, quite frankly. And I just look for us to have a stellar performance. And regardless, you don't want to concentrate on what the other team is doing. You just want to concentrate on what you're going to do. And if we do that, we can pull this out. I do not see a repeat of the Texas Tech fiasco happening. How about you, Frank? What are your thoughts?
Yep. Well, we both exchanged our keys to the game and our scores, and the fans will see that in a few minutes. I would, and this goes back to the point I was making earlier, Mickey. I would feel more comfortable if this is like I'm trying to think of a comparison, and I'm not. It would be like a AAA team. And I don't mean this to be demeaning, but a AAA team going up against a major league team. Look, I mean, they beat Iowa State last year in the Liberty Bowl, and they didn't just beat Iowa State. They clobbered them.
Oh, they
It
thumped
was as you can see
They
from this
thumped
in the
them.
first line. Oh my God! And I was watching avidly because Iowa State is one of the schools I graduated from, but they were up by 23 points going into the fourth quarter and rolled up 530 yards. They expected to be in the college football playoff this year, but they lost. They lost to Navy. I understand that Navy's a good team. If you look at the schedule, the two teams that they lost to are there in green. Probably should have put that in red. Navy is 8-3, and they also lost to University of Tennessee San Antonio. They lost to that team, and so excuse me. Those teams they lost to. The green number is actually the two schools that have a positive record for the year. I put this together and I couldn't remember what it is. But that schedule tells you everything you need to know, because if you go down the list, most of those teams did not have a winning season. Only two had winning seasons. And if you go down the list, 3-9, 4-8, 2-8, 3-9, you've got a couple of 6-6 teams there, 5-7, another 6-6 team, all the way down. And only two teams had winning records, Navy and Tulane, and they lost. They lost to Navy and they lost to UTSA, and it was the USTA loss that really took them out of playoff consideration, because it's a conference team, and they finished the season as 6-6. And so when you look at the numbers, the performance numbers, you have to take in consideration the level of competition they were playing against. So it makes it difficult. And I think if we, as you said, have the right attitude and play, this is a meaningful game. Let's play like it is a meaningful game. Good coaching decisions, and our defense holds up. I think. Now, one of the things that's interesting about this, Mick, and I won't go over the national ranks from the NCAA, but look at the national ranks from ESPN. The power index, these are all based on stats, based on the stats for this year, has Memphis ranked 62nd, West Virginia ranks 63rd. Okay? 62nd and 63rd. Now, the FBI is very important. That's the Football Power Index. And that's the expected point margin between a team and its opponent, an average opponent on a neutral field. Well, these two teams are going to be facing average opponents, and they're going to be playing on a neutral field. Well, what does ESPN calculate that? Memphis would beat on an average field an opponent by 2.1 points. WVU would beat an average opponent on a neutral field by 1.8 points. What does that say? They're virtually equal. So if you look at the schedule that WVU played, which is I think ranked 35th, and then if you look at the small print under the schedule there, they played one of the worst. Memphis did one of the worst schedules in major college football. I think only 4 or 5 teams had a lower strength of schedule. So that balances out when the data are analyzed. They're pretty much the same.
It's a toss-up, I think, Frank, and great analysis on your part, by the way. Thank you, my friend, for rolling up the sleeves. And I didn't excel in math at WVU. I told you the Coach Bowden story about failing that last math test, but
Yeah.
I appreciate all the statistical analysis that you did there. And I also misspoke. I think I said University of Texas, El Paso. I meant to just say UTSA. But that's what happens when you have bronchitis sometimes. Yeah, it's neck and neck. I mean, it's a virtual toss-up. I think it comes down to who wants the game more, who wants to win more, as most games do, right? And Timothy Green just made the point there. If they let Garrett be Garrett and not turn him into a pocket passer, then we should beat them. And one of the things I pointed out in my game analysis also, Frank, was the fact that I look for Garrett Green to go out on a really, really high note. I look for him to have one of the best games of his career against these guys, throwing for 3 touchdowns, maybe running for 2. And I just look for him to knock it out of the park in his very last college appearance.
Mm-hmm. And so you've got West Virginia, Mickey, winning 44-42 in a shootout. As you say, I agree 100%. They've got the guns on offense. And one of the things that we've got to be really worried about is that I'm not sure we faced a team yet this year that throws as much to the running backs coming out of the backfield. In fact, they have their number 2 running back who has more yards through the air coming out of the backfield than rushing yards. So that's something that we have to look at.
Yeah.
You've got West Virginia winning 44-42. I've got West Virginia 31-22. I'm going to bring it. My issue is the defense. It's been that way from the very beginning. You think back to the Pitt game and the end of the Pitt game, when I still remember that 3rd and 30 play. The bottom line is our defense struggled, and so my feeling is that the defense has to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. One of the downsides for Memphis is that Hennigan has been sacked a lot this year, and so the defensive line and linebackers, I think we're going to see some blitzes. We can't allow. They have 4 or 5 receivers, legit receivers. We're going to have to cover them. As Greg likes to say, we can't have faulty schematics on the defensive side, and we can't have long plays. We just can't, because it can hit you in both ways. So I've got it 31-22. Any other comments you want to make about your analysis, keys of the game, or the prediction that you have?
Well, I think I touched on most of the highlights. The one last thing I would mention to your point, Frank, about them throwing so much to backs out of the backfield. You know what? That comes down to linebacker play on defense, because the linebackers are the guys that are going to have to cover those backs coming out of the backfield. And that may actually inure to our benefit in this game. Rather than cornerbacks and safeties having to cover people, we're going to have linebackers. I think it's going to be one of the real keys of the game. Can the linebackers keep up with those running backs from a speed perspective and a strength perspective? If we can do that and stop that short pass, the flare pass out to the backs coming out of the backfield, if we can do that and establish a running game for clock time management purposes, then I think we can win this one. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I do too. One of the things, yeah, well stated. One of the things that I forgot to mention, it's in my analysis. I don't bet. I just don't, and I know you don't either. But I always follow the line, and people know. In fact, Kelly McCourt made the comment, "My God, we're favored." Well, that's right. When the Houses came out with their opening line, it was West Virginia 3.5. Well, if you looked at the Houses today, it's Memphis 3. And again, it goes back to the not confusing, but the difficulty of handicapping this game. Mickey, I don't remember a time, and again, I don't bet, so I'm just going with my own recollection, where a line for without injuries has swung
Has
6.5
moved up.
points
Yeah,
from one team
that's
to
a
the
pretty
other
big
in about
swing.
4 days. Uh,
That's a pretty big swing.
that's amazing.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't follow that stuff, as you know,
yeah.
Frank.
Hey,
So
and Mick, go ahead.
no, I was just saying,
Yeah, but
the odds
there.
makers. Go ahead.
No, I was going to finish your thought, please.
No, I was just saying, the odds makers usually, I guess, know what they're talking about. They're still in business, so I guess they do. But once again, I think there are things that aren't written down on paper that will come into play on this game in terms of emotions, particularly emotions that these players feel, Frank. And it's a point that I'll emphasize once again. When you're playing and you know that you're playing in the very last organized amateur level collegiate conference type football game that you'll ever play in, it has a big impact on your performance. Some people perform very well under the circumstances, and some folks don't. So a lot of it, I think, has to do in how we step up to that emotional aspect of the game.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Mickey, one last thing before we're going to go to a commercial and then wrap it up with what's going to come up next week. We've got a great show that you're putting together for next Wednesday, and also we have our pre and post bowl games. But I just wanted to say we both, all three of us, Greg, you and myself, got the scores way off last week because we all went with WVU to beat Tech in Lubbock, and it didn't happen. So, you see the heading down there? It says every dog has its day. I beat you guys by a grand total each by 1 point. By 1 point. And I tell you what, I mean, we were so far off, but I beat you by 1 point. So going into the final game, Mickey's won the season contest. He has 8.5. I now have 2, and Mickey split one with Greg split one with Mickey, and he's 1.5. So again, Greg's under the weather and couldn't participate this week. But at any rate, that's I didn't know that. Well, Kelly, that the swing got bigger and bigger and bigger, and in fact, I haven't looked at it since this morning. It may even be more, but that's really unusual. There's absolutely There's absolutely no question about it. But while I queue up this commercial, I was thinking, Mick, we're gonna do a spot for our good friend Ty Bullock up in Charleston, and it's the holidays, which means that's a great time, great time to do what you're going to talk about that Ty does.
And that would be, give me a little bit more.
Yeah, he's making bourbon.
Oh,
That's a great gift for the holidays.
oh, it does. Yeah, it does make a great gift for the holiday.
I
No
fed you a
question
softball.
about it. Yeah, you threw me a little curve there. I'm sorry. Yeah, I had occasion the other day. I caught Ty and his whole crew. He had I never heard of this, Frank. He had a bourbon tasting in the distillery at his annual employees Christmas party and
I
invited
saw
the
that.
public a few days ago. And it's just like, a wine tasting. I had never heard of a bourbon tasting, but his dad actually was the one that posted that on the internet. But, that's just one small part of Ty Bullock, that distillery. And he has created a number of jobs with it, but he just does so much for the community of Charleston. And we're just thankful to have him and the civic-minded person that he is as a huge supporter of Mountaineer locker room then and now. And he's going to be with us next year as well. We'll continue to talk about him and everything he does from a community service standpoint, as well as he just had his Christmas release, which was a limited edition, which is available, I think, also now. So if anybody's in Charleston, they might want to drop by there and check that out. I think you can get a little taste if you walk in the distillery.
That's right. Yeah, and so what we really want to do, we'll show this spot here that we recorded.
Roll
And
tape,
he's a
and then
great
we'll
guy.
talk
And
about
would
next
when you
week's
think
show.
about it, a West Virginia-based holiday. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
So here's Ty.
Thanks for having me on today to chat with you a little bit about the Bullock Distillery. We're a small craft distillery located in Charleston, West Virginia, but we get all of our grains from Mason County, West Virginia, a little place called Yager Farms, and we get all of our water from Greenbrier County. We got a little family farm down there that we cart up about 1,200 gallons per month, and that's what we use to make all of our spirits with, and I think that's what sets us apart. And so while we do go out and we source some of the best barrels that we can from other distilleries and other states, we make all of our own whiskeys in house as well that we're aging. And yeah, we're really proud of how we've grown our company. And you can find us in most liquor stores around the state. And if we're not there, give us a request. Talk to the manager, see if they'll be interested in carrying our products and try a real unique taste of West Virginia. I encourage everybody to come pay us a visit in the Elk City Historic District of Charleston, West Virginia, and come take a tour and do a sample with us and hear more about our story.
Great story
All right.
in Charleston, West Virginia. I'll tell you, great story. And we've got, I was thinking, Mickey, as you know, it takes a lot of effort to put together this show. And next week, we're going to do 3 shows in 24 hours. So why don't we start talking about, let me go up here and pull up the show that you've been working on. I got a little graphic that you have not seen with your
Oh,
picture from
no way.
1960, maybe
Oh my
eight.
gracious.
Here it is. There you are. There it is.
Look at that. Oh my gracious. Yeah, on the left there's myself and Jim Braxton. Of course, it's so muddy, you can't tell the numbers. I'll be doggone. Frank, thanks for putting that up there. That was in a galaxy far, far away, a long, long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, next week, and been
that's
working on
right.
this for a little while. I want to thank you and Greg for your support. Next week's show, we're going to dedicate to the 55th anniversary of the 1969 Peach Bowl team, which the actual date is December the 30th this year. Will be the 55th anniversary of that game that I was privileged to play in, along with a number of other great individuals. And it just so happens also, Frank, that that's our 55th show of the year, I believe you told me. So synchronicity strikes once
Yep.
again, 55th show. We celebrate the 55th anniversary. I've been talking to the troops via email and text and telephone calls. I got a few guys lined up from that team that will be joining us on the show next week. But our primary guest will be Matt Flegg, who is the son of my offensive line coach in 1967 through 69, gentleman by the name of Jack Flegg, who was one of the best, as you've described in the past, the knack that Jim Carlin had of surrounding himself with the best of the best when it came to his assistant coaching staffs, as did Bobby Bowden. Jack Flegg was truly a great man, a great coach. After he left West Virginia, he went on to coach at Kentucky. He was also at Alabama. And I remember his son, Matt Flegg, when Matt was 10 years old, walking around old Mountaineer Field as we were practicing back in the 60s. And he and I came across each other a couple of years ago. I did not know this at the time, but he's right here in Georgia. He had been a very successful high school football coach uh, here in Georgia for 37 years. And he produced a number of just outstanding young men who have gone on to be either high school or college coaches themselves. So Matt Flegg, Jack's son, is going to be our main guest next week. He's going to talk about remembrances that he had as a young person of that Peach Bowl experience. He's going to talk about his dad's college coaching career. He's going to talk a little bit about his own high school coaching career. So that will be the then part of the show next week. And then for the now part, we will bring in some of my teammates that are on standby, just chomping at the bit to get on the show. Some we've heard from before, others will be first timers. So it'll be kind of a look back in the past through a rather complex mirror glass. I can't believe that a gentleman that is now 66 years old was on the sidelines as a 10-year-old, watching all of us so long ago. And here, I guess, in time, things change. For all time, nothing changes. You kind of complete the circle with Matt's appearance on the show in honor of his dad, Jack Flegg.
Yeah. Thanks for putting it together, Nick. I'm looking forward to that show as well. And actually, it will be the third show of three in a row because we're going to be doing the pregame show. Very pleased to announce that Tanner lives in Wheeling now from Princeton originally. played offensive tackle at West Virginia on the last several of Don Nealon's teams. And Tanner's been a guest on the program. He's done pregame shows, and he's going to join us again. We're going to start at 7:30 on Tuesday evening and go for another hour at the so it'll be the pregame live for Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, and then Dave Gorby drew the short stick, and we're going to be coming on at 12:30 in the morning after the Scooters Frisco Bowl for the post-game live, the last post-game live show. Hopefully Greg will be able to join us, but at the very least, it'll be Dave Gorby, and Dave's done a great job, both pre and post shows, post-game shows in the past. He'll be with us starting at 12:30, and again, we'll go with an hour. I'm sure we'll be revved up one way or the other, and as we always say, we want to hit that show with smiles on our faces. So we'll absolutely see. And anyway, so that'll be the last shows of the year, and we'll be back at you in January. We got another comment up here, and wow, look at this. Timothy, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Timothy.
His birthday. Yeah. There you go.
Actually, Frank, what a coincidence. My daughter is flying in from West Virginia, or Kentucky rather, to Atlanta tomorrow morning. We're going to celebrate her birthday, and her birthday is December the 17th also, the night of the bowl game.
How about that? That's wonderful. Just
I'll also be
all
with
these things are aligning.
It all comes into alignment, Frank. I'll actually be watching it that night with my college roommate, Wayne Brooks, who played the other tackle, and his wife, Gary Ann Brooks, and I will all be together watching the game, having known each other for quite some time now. So, wow, you guys really got your work cut out for you. I'm only doing one show next week. You got 3 within 24 hours. Hats off, my friend.
We got 3, but you know the nice thing about the pre and the post games is that we'll get a lot of participation, and people will comment, and we just sort of guide it through. But we want to really thank you, Mickey, for lining up Kevin Berry to be with us tonight, and he did a great job as we expected. And thanks also for your analysis of the bowl game, and thank everybody for watching. Again, we all are praying for Greg Chris to get back in his seat and join us. It's not the same without Greg, that's for sure. And
that's for sure.
Well, thank you for watching. Thank you, Mickey, and we'll see everybody, we hope, next Tuesday and next Wednesday. Take care, everybody. Here we go. Look at this.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Kelly. I'll be there for all.
All right.
That's great.